Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining. I'm Samantha Russell, and I'm excited to be talking with you all today about driving more traffic and leads to your website through SEO, which stands for Search Engine Optimization. So I'm excited to talk with you all and walk you through this presentation. While we wait for a few more people to sign on, I just wanted to point out a few things about the panel that we'll be using today, Zoom. So if you've never been on a Zoom webinar, you'll notice you can see my face here through the webcam, and then I'll be sharing my screen and you'll be able to see all of the slides that I have in today's presentation. There are two areas that you can interact with me and with everyone else on the call. So the first area is the chat box. So if somebody wants to get us started, it would be great if you can add into the chat box where you're joining us from, and maybe if you can hear me loud and clear and see my face okay, just to get us going so people can see where that chat box is. So the chat box is available for everyone to see and read the comments. So if I'm saying something today and you want to comment on it or let the rest of those joining us know about it, you can put it in the chat. Oh, great. So we have some chats coming through. Thank you, Nicholas and Mandy. So everybody can see those chats that are coming in. Now, the Q&A box is only I'm able to see those. So if you have a question that you want to send to me privately, you can put it in the Q&A box at any time, and then I will be able to see that. Hi, Big Al from Burlington. I love that you called yourself Big Al. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. If you need to leave early, if you're joining us late, no problem. We will record this and then send out the recording and the slides to all of you so that you have access to it at any time. I really want this to be helpful to all of you and have it as a resource that you can, look back on at any point. So while I get my slides queued up, let me just start from the beginning here and share my screen so we can get going. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen. If somebody wants to make sure that they want to put in the chat box that you guys can see it, good. That would, again, be helpful so that we all know that we are on the same page. So we are talking today about SEO, best practices, and getting more people to your website. So again, I've already mentioned this. We are going to record this and send it to everybody so that you'll have it. It'll be easy for you to access at any time. I also have a poll that I just want to start with real quick, just to give me a quick assessment of where everybody is coming from. So there are 4 quick questions. If everyone can just take a minute to answer them. This will really help me as I am presenting today to tailor the discussion based upon everybody's own background, where you're coming at in terms of how familiar you are with some of these topics and what types of tools that you're using already. So again, if you could just take a minute to answer these 4 questions quickly, that will help me make the presentation more specific to all of you, and hopefully it will be even more helpful. While you are doing that, I just wanted to also share a little bit of information about myself. So I am Samantha Russell. I am the Chief Marketing and Business Development Officer here at 20 over 10. So 20 over 10 is a website development and digital marketing platform specifically for financial advisors. I am personally based in State College, Pennsylvania. So if any of you have ever been down to Pennsylvania, we are right smack in the middle of the state, located in the same town as Penn State University. So it's been very, very cold and snowy here, which I'm sure all of those of you can relate to. Ready for winter to be over. So I've been with 20 over 10 for a few years now, and we have really used the same SEO strategies I'm going to outline for all of you today for our own business. So for 20 over 10, when we are trying to rank higher, when someone is searching website or digital marketing options for their own provider, we've used those same tactics in reaching more of you, right? So that when you go to Google digital marketing best practices for an investment advisor, that our blog posts are the ones that you're seeing. So I'm really excited to share those same tactics we've been using with all of you and explain how you can use them as an advisor. All right, I'm going to end the poll because it looks like almost everybody has taken it. And just to share the results with you, it looks about 80% of those on the call do currently use the Digital Advisor program and have a 20 over 10 website, so that's fantastic. 20% of you are frequently using the back end to update your website, which I love to see. 13% said a couple times they've used it. 13% said never, and 47% said they want to soon, even though they haven't already. So I'm going to show you exactly how you can use the 20 over 10 tool to improve your SEO. So I'll be really excited to show all of you that today. For how much knowledge do you have of SEO? We have 13% of people saying, what is SEO? They're not even sure what it is. Then the next most popular answer is that 40% say they understand the basics, and 27% say very limited. So that's sort of where I'll operate within today, since it looks to be almost 70% of you at least understand something or have a little bit of knowledge. And then in terms of what you most want to learn about today, 67% of you said how to use 20 over 10's built-in tools to make your site rank better. And then 47% want to know just generally how to rank better when someone is searching for businesses like yours. So that is really helpful. Thank you, everyone, for answering these poll questions. So you'll notice, based upon the information that you shared with me, I will kind of skip through some of the presentation to make sure that we're focused and honing in on the elements that you most want to discuss. In terms of any questions you have as we go through this, do not hesitate to ask questions throughout. I may not answer them right in that moment, but it's helpful for all of you and each other to see the questions as they're coming in. And if you have that question, someone else probably does too. So go ahead and ask a question at any time, and I will either answer it within my talk of that portion or at the very end. Okay. So again, Samantha Russell, the Chief Marketing and Business Development Officer here at 20 over 10. So excited to see that so many of you are currently using 20 over 10's tool to manage your own website. And if you currently haven't gotten in there yet and done anything, you'll be really excited to see how easy it actually is throughout this presentation. So the very first thing that I want to just talk about is when you're looking at a page of results from a search engine, what does that look like, and how is that makeup structured? What should you pay attention to? So on the right-hand side of my screen, you will see that I have searched for a financial advisor in Orlando, Florida, and we have a list of results that came up on that day. So this, what you're looking at, the technical term for it is called a SERP, which just stands for the Search Engine Results page. A few things to keep in mind right out of the gate. I will often have advisors tell me, oh, I'm number one, when I search for my website, but other people are telling me that they can't find it. Google is going to give you results not just based on, everybody doesn't get the same results. The results you get are very much based upon your own previous search history. That's a very big component of it. So if you've been to your own website a bunch, searching to see where your website then ranks is not going to be accurate because you've searched for it before. So that's the number one thing. The other second thing to remember is that it's also highly specific based on your location. So I wasn't actually in Orlando, Florida when I did this search term. So if I were to have just written financial advisor there and not use the term Orlando, Florida, the search algorithm is going to give me advisors near me here in Pennsylvania because it understands that that's where I'm located. So keep that in mind, those two elements. The results are always going to be based on your previous search history as well as your location, right? The number one organic result is going to get 33% of all clicks. So if we look at this makeup here, at the top of the page, we have these 3 ads for Edward Jones, Prudential, and Merrill Lynch. Most people skip over the ads. So you can see here I have paid listings get less than 10% of clicks. So 90% of people are going to skip right past that and go down to the next listing of results, right? This little map area right here, where we have the map and then these listings of advisors where you can click to their website and even get directions, that is called the Google Local 3-Pack. So whenever we're doing a search for something that is geographic specific to a certain area, Google will give us small businesses in that area. And even if we didn't put the words Orlando, Florida, we would still get that, right? So if we just search something like pizza, Google understands that you probably want to find a local pizza restaurant. If you've never searched for a financial advisor before and someone just searched financial advisor, they're probably still going to give you those actual local advisors. But if they searched a more broad term like best financial planning, they probably wouldn't just get businesses. They would get articles and guides and blog posts too. So it really depends upon how Google's trying to figure out the searcher's intent. So again, 33% of all clicks are going to be within these top 3 listings here in that local 3-pack. And the less than 6%, of people will advance to page 2. So if you're not on the first page, you basically don't exist, is what I always say. Okay, so before I kind of dive into how you get on that first page, what do you do to make your business appear there? Let's just talk very quickly about a term you need to understand when it comes to search engine optimization. Search engine optimization can be divided into 2 buckets: what's happening on the page and what's happening off the page. So on the page is really all about what is your site about? What does the content on your site say? Those are what you can rank for. So if your site says financial advice for divorced women, then you have a much better chance of ranking for the term financial advice for divorced women. If you don't have the word investment management anywhere on your website and you just keep talking about financial planning, then you're not going to be able to rank for investment management. You actually have to have those keywords there, which is very intuitive when we think about it, in order to rank for them, right? So on the page factors are related to what is your site about. It's also related, though, to how your site is structured. So this is things like how fast your site is. Is your website mobile responsive? Which, for all of you on 20 over 10, you don't need to worry about that. The sites absolutely are mobile responsive. Is it easy for images and files to be added to the site and move quickly once somebody lands on those pages? So that's all going to impact your on-the-page factors. The off-the-page factors is all about how authoritative your site is for that content. And that impacts how high you rank. So the more backlinks you can get from other places on the internet linking back to your site, the more authoritative your site will be, and you will rank higher and higher and higher. So this is why we often see advisors participating in something like Investopedia, has a place where you can go and share your thoughts and answer questions as an advisor for consumers. And every time you post something, it links back to your main website. Well, that's creating a backlink. Social media, that creates a backlink. Every time you create a social profile and link back to your website, you're creating a backlink. So anytime you can have another place on the internet linking back to your website, you're going to increase how authoritative your site is viewed. So this is really important. Okay, so I'm not going to dive into off-the-page techniques really today at all. Today we're going to focus on the on-the-page techniques. And these are because these are things you can control in your 20 over 10 platform, or they're things we're taking care of for you, right? So writing good content that contains your keywords. You all here can control that. You can add content that has the keywords that you want to rank for. Optimizing title tags, something you can do in the 20 over 10 editor. Linking within your own content, something you can do within the 20 over 10 editor. We make sure your site is mobile friendly, and we've optimized your URL structure for you, so you don't need to worry about that. And then writing your content to be both user and search engine friendly. I'm going to show you how to do that. I just want to point out that 50% of the algorithm for how your site ranks, though, is things not related to your 20 over 10 website that you also will need to be thinking about. We're not going to go into them today, but getting those backlinks, being on social media, setting up and optimizing Google My Business, and starting to blog or provide guest content other places to build those backlinks, this is going to make up 50% of how well your site is ranking. So we're going to focus today on those on-the-page factors. but just be prepared that it's not going to be a magic bullet, that you still do need to pay attention to these other techniques. And if you're interested in those, we can set up another webinar in the future to cover this other 50% of the algorithm. Okay, so when you're thinking about writing your content and containing the keywords that you want to rank for, the first thing you need to think about is how do you go about determining what those keywords are and how competitive it would be to rank for them, right? So for instance, ranking for just the term financial planner is going to be incredibly difficult. The more niche focused that you can be, the more highly specific, the better chance you have to rank. So there is a tool that you can use called Google Search Console. And Google Search Console is a free tool that every single website owner can set up for themselves. It's part of Google's overall tool. So there's Google Analytics. Google Analytics shows you, who's visiting your website, where they're coming from, what pages are the most popular. But if you ever try to look at keywords, you cannot get access to the keywords in Google Analytics. So for the keywords, you have to go to Google Search Console. And there you will see all of the keywords that your site has been ranking for. So this is just a little preview of our Google Search Console for a 20 over 10 blog that we have. So here's a bunch of the different queries that led people to our blog in a time period, right? So things like best financial advisor websites 2018, best financial planning sites, 20 over 10 websites, top financial planning websites. Oh, I'm sorry, this isn't for our blog. This was for our main website. So we can see how many times when somebody did one of these searches. So when somebody searched best financial advisor websites in 2018, that was our website, 20over10.com, was shown 402 times. That's the impressions. That doesn't mean that this term was only searched 402 times total. It just means that of the 402 times this search was conducted, we were shown, our result was shown. So we had an option of being clicked on. And of those 402 times, 225 people clicked on our listing. And then the position is where we were. So we were the first option. If we go back to that SERP page that I showed you, and it was broken down into ads at the top and then organic, we were the first organic option there. So this is a really great way for you to start seeing how often search terms are, leading people to your website, because you can see how often, you're showing up versus how often someone's clicking in, right? So if we look at the search term best financial advisor website, there were 144 times we were shown, and somebody clicked in 26 times, right? But for top financial planning websites, we were shown 283 times and only 6 people clicked in. So the click-through rate is much lower there. And whenever we see that, where you see that the click-through rate is a lot lower, that tells you that you need to update your meta description. So write that down. If you see that the number of clicks that you have is very low relative to the total number of impressions that you have, that means you need to update the meta description. I'm going to get to that in just a few minutes, and I'll show you how to do it in the platform. But the meta description is basically the little gray text underneath your URL in the listing. And just go back and show you again. So whenever we see here, like top 4 financial advisors in Orlando, Florida, right, where it says Allegiant Financial Advisors is an independently owned, fee-based financial advisor firm, that text right there is the meta description. So think of that as ad copy that's enticing someone to click into your website. If you're being shown a bunch of times in the listings, but nobody's clicking into it, that means you need to update that copy to make it more compelling for someone to want to click into your website. So another thing that you can use Google Search Console for is looking at backlinks. So remember I mentioned that about 50% of the algorithm for how high you're going to rank is based upon how many people are linking back to your site. So you can use Google Search Console to look at the total number of links that you have, as well as who is linking back to your site, right? So here are some backlinks we have for the 20 over 10 blog. So we had about 11,000 external links going to our blog, and we can see where some of those topped referrals are coming from. So iris.xyz, that's an online repository of advice for financial advisors. 20over10.com, of course, our regular website links to our blog, LinkedIn, RIA Match, 1FPA. So we have all these different places that are linking back to our website. So this is really helpful. If you were to find one in here, somebody who maybe you didn't know was linking to your website, maybe they found an article or a blog post that you wrote particularly useful, and so they linked to it, that would be a great way to then get in touch with them, thank them for linking to, your blog post, and then ask them if they'd be interested in maybe doing a guest blog post swap or having you contribute a piece for them. It's a really great way to kind of network, find out who finds your content or your website useful already. Okay, so just X out here. Somebody was asking how you get into the Google Search Console. So let me just, whenever you want to go into the Google Search Console, you need to be logged into Google Total. So you can see over here, I'm in Google Slides right now. So it's just one of their many services. Google has Google Analytics, Google Docs, Google Slides. I'm sure a lot of you have used some of the G Suite products. If you haven't, they are free to use. So you would just go to google.com and then you would sign up for an account, and then you want to create a account and you're going to associate your website to it. So then within Google Search Console, once you click in and you've associated your website, you can get the full report. And I'll talk a little bit here shortly about how our team can help you with this if you're looking for help. So we do have a package that can help with all these types of questions. But great question. Okay, so now that we've talked about the Google Search Console, let's look at some of the on-the-page elements that you actually are going to want to take care of with your website. So I'm going to go back to full screen here. So I'm going to talk about these in the slide deck, and then I'm going to open the app at the same time for each one to show you directly where it is within 20/10. So the first thing you want to do whenever we talk about something, making sure that you're taking care of, is making sure your site is mobile friendly and secure. So more than 50% of all searches now come from mobile devices, and Google actually penalizes non-secure websites. So if you have an HTTP website versus HTTPS, that makes a big difference. So you want to make sure that, again, your site is mobile friendly and secure. We take care of this for you. You don't need to worry about it, but it is important, so I'm just pointing it out. So that's really nice. Everybody can just check that one off already. You don't even need to worry about it. The second thing you want to do is make sure that these 4 things are things you're taking care of for your website on every page and subpage. So we are going to go through them all, but you want to make sure you have at least one of your keywords in the title of any article or any section of your website. You want to make sure that you have 2 to 3 keywords within the body text, and you want to have your meta description, especially if you're blogging or have any content you're creating. You want to make sure you have an accurate meta description that is representative of what that article or that page is about for every single page on your website. And then, of course, you want to have alt tags for every image. So an alt tag, initially what it was originally intended for was if somebody has any sort of disability and they can't see the image, that they can then be told what the image is about from the computer. But it also does have an impact on SEO. So the keywords should be in those images. And that's also just because so many people do image-based searches now. So let me show you what this looks like in practice. So right here, I have the 20/10 editor pulled up. Somebody could just put in the chat, make sure you guys can all still see my screen. I know that the presentation was showing fine, but just let me know that you can see the editor that I have pulled up here nice and clear. So this is the backend editor. Whenever you log into your account, this is what you're going to see. Oh, thank you, Alan. Thank you, Connor, for letting me know. So on the left-hand side, you have all your pages and subpages, and then this is your site preview on the right. Within any page of your website, if you go into page settings, the very first thing you're going to notice is that you have 2 options right here at the top. You have your page name, but then your browser page title. The browser page title is incredibly important for SEO. So you can see here, the page name is home, but we would never want to put home as the browser page title. There's a very distinct way we want to organize the browser page title for SEO. And what we want to do is make sure we're including whatever keywords are most important here, because this is one of the top ways Google is going to rank your site, is based upon the keywords you have in that browser page title. So let me show you one more time, again, where to go to get this. On any page of your website, if you hover over the page, you'll have a page settings button. You're going to click that, and there you will find the browser page title. The most important page to update the browser page title on is your home page. That's where you really want to think very critically about what you want to use. Now, if I go back in here, I have two options for you to take a look at. So here's two browser page titles. On the first one, we can see they've added Carlsbad, California, and then a hyphen, and then fiduciary financial planner, and then their company name. On the second one, they have their company name first, Van Wee Financial, then they have fee only for a reason, and then they have certified financial, and the rest trails off, right? First thing to notice, both of these are being sort of trailed off because you're only going to see 50 to 60 characters in the preview. So you need to keep them between 50 and 60 characters long. These are truly the second most important on-page ranking factors after just the content within your website as a whole. So this, again, is incredibly important that you think about what keywords you want to put in this title, page title. I would suggest thinking of it this way. If your company is like very well known, maybe you have like a local radio show, or you have an advisor who's super prominent on social media or something like that, in those cases, you might want to use the name of your company first, but in all other cases, the name of your company actually should go last. So I know that's really counterintuitive, right? So if we look at these two examples again, we see that in the first one, they have Carlsbad, California. So what they most want to rank for is that geographic area. Then secondly, they have fiduciary financial planner. So what they're hoping is that whenever anybody in the Carlsbad area is searching for a fiduciary planner, they're going to be ranking first. The second one we have shown here, Van Wee Financial, they have a very prominent radio show in the Jacksonville, Florida area. They're really well known. They're on the radio. They have a podcast. So they've chosen to put their company name first, and then that fee only for a reason second. For you all, I have this little algorithm here, which would be primary keyword first, then a hyphen, then your secondary keyword, and then your company name, right? So again, if we go back into the editor, right here, we might want to do State College, PA, financial planning firm, and then Samantha Russell, whatever the case may be. So that's where you would go in to actually edit the browser page title that will appear in the listing of the search engine results. If nobody has any questions on that, I'll move on to the next one, but please let me know if you do, because this is so crucially important, and I want you all to go back to your websites after this webinar and check to see what you have listed there and determine how you want to change it. Now, just keep in mind, you don't need to change anything about the page name. The page name is how your site is appearing internally, like once somebody is inside your website. So we're only changing the browser page title in this box. Okay, so moving on to the next area, which is meta description. So we just talked about if somebody is doing a search, remember, and they're going to have this big long list of results. The meta description is that copy in gray underneath the URL that entices them to click, right? So what do we want to think about when we think about meta descriptions? Here's some things that I'm going to suggest. Number one, think of it as ad copy. So this is enticing someone to click on your result once they've done a search. So it's a short description of what your web page is about, and it should summarize that page. But again, it really needs to be a little bit more, adjective filled, enticing, putting your marketing hat on to try to get somebody to click on that page. I suggest including a strong call to action if you can, even something like, we help you do this, or we help people like this accomplish this, because you always want to be thinking about what is the problem that somebody searching for your business is going to have, and how does your business provide a solution for people with problems like that. That's what I'm going to suggest. So if we look at this second one here, he has, hi, I'm Kyle Moore. Sorry, it's a little blurry, but hi, I'm Kyle Moore, and I help busy and motivated professionals take their finances to the next level with ongoing guidance and accountability, right? So he's talking very much about who he works with, busy and motivated professionals, what he does, take their finances to the next level, and what is that added value, ongoing guidance and accountability. That is a very strong, compelling meta description that's going to make somebody want to click into that particular page. That is very different than the first one. The first one is still got all the keywords in it. It strongly summarizes what they do, that they're a fee-only financial planning and asset management firm, that they work together with your benefit, but it's not as compelling in the sense of ad copy, I would say. So you want to keep these about 120 to 150 characters long. Again, they're going to trail off if you have them be any longer than that. And the other thing is that the copy that you put in the meta description does still need to reflect what's on the page, or Google will change the meta description for you. So if your page is all about, if you have a sub page that's all about your fees, and so instead of putting in the meta description something about your fees, and you try to just copy and paste the same meta description you're using on your homepage, Google will say, wait, this isn't what this page is about, and it will change it for you. So make sure your meta descriptions actually are talking about what's on the page, or you risk Google changing them for you. Okay, so let's again exit out of this and go back into the editor, and I can show you where to change that. And Ellen, I know you were asking if you're going to get a copy of this. Yes, we are going to have a copy of this for everyone. I'm glad everyone's finding the information so useful. You will get a copy of the presentation so that you can go back and look at it and make sure that you're doing all of these things. So do not worry about that. Okay, so we're still in that same page setting. So again, let me go back just so that everyone remembers. So we're in our main site navigation. Over here under page settings, we're clicking that little gear icon. And now we're going to scroll down. Scroll, scroll, scroll until you see SEO. And when you see SEO description, this is the text that will show in search results for this page. So this is your chance to update your meta description, right? So this is where you can go in and you can make that compelling copy. Now, one thing to keep in mind, you have an SEO meta description for every single page of your website. And every single page of your website should have a different meta description, right? So if you want to use financial planning design specifically for physicians throughout Cleveland, Ohio as your meta description, you wouldn't copy and paste this then and go and add it to the tax strategies page, right? So the tax strategies page also has an SEO meta description. We're not going to add that same one there. For the tax strategies page, we might say something like, being a busy professional and managing your taxes can be complicated. We have the solution for you, or whatever the case may be. So you can have a variation of it, but it needs to still be summarizing what that page is about. So making sure we're talking about taxes in the meta description for this page is very imperative. Now within 20/10, these same settings that I'm showing you for every page, you also get them for any of your landing pages. So in this instance here, we have this retirement planning checklist, which is a separate landing page. And, it's somewhere you could drive email traffic to, or maybe, some sort of campaign. You're going to still get those same page settings. So for every single page and subpage that you have, you're going to have that browser page title to change, as well as that SEO meta description. This is just a demo site, so you can see this one, for instance, doesn't have it, but it should. And then additionally, within your blog, you have an overall blog SEO description that you can set up, but you also have the ability within the blog to go into your managed posts And whenever we click any of these manage posts, we are going to then have the ability to, if I scroll down here on the right, change the meta description for every single blog post too. So again, all of these tools are built into the platform and they're at your fingertips, but you want to make sure that you're looking at them. If your website just recently went live, it's a great opportunity to go back and do an assessment and look at all of them, see, how they're performing. You could even ask somebody like an admin or maybe a couple of your clients, hey, I wouldn't give them every single page description, but just say, do you think it's more compelling to say we do this, this, and this, or this, this, and this, and ask people what they think to try to get into the minds of the people who could be clicking on your page. Okay, so while I'm in here, actually, let me just show you guys one other thing because we're going to get into this next. But if you are using 20/10's content library, Content Assist, which I'll talk a little bit about more here in a second, but if you are using that, you'll note that all of those articles come preloaded with that information for you. So if we're in the Content Assist library and we choose one of these articles, right? Summer budgeting done right. And we go to add post and then we click edit. We will see that, oh, this is somebody, that's not a real one. You'll see that all of the pieces of content that are in the Content Assist library come preloaded with the excerpts, the SEO descriptions, everything that you would need. So if you want to edit these and make them more specific to your firm, you can, but they're already there for you. So that's another big benefit of using our blog content that we have in that content library. Okay, so going back. So we talked about the title tag, which is that text you would actually click in. And then we talked about the gray text underneath it, which is your meta description, right? And how you should compose those. So next, we're going to talk about the next element in terms of importance. So that would be header tags. So if we're, again, looking at an example website here, we have this copy, this big blue text here, and then we see a little bit smaller blue text underneath it. These are called headlines or header copy. And they signify a few different things. Number one, people do not read websites the way they read a book, right? We don't read it from top to bottom, left to right, every single word on the page. We scan them, and we scan them for the information that's relevant to us. So by using headers, you're helping somebody visually find the information that they're looking for, right? It's a lot easier to scroll through and see there's a new section here related to me. If I'm a physician or a retiree, I'm going to want to read this section. So number one, they help the user stay on the page longer and scan to find what it is they're looking for. But number two, they signify to the search engine what your page is all about. So you absolutely want to include the keywords that your page is about in those headers. So here we have the words Akron, Ohio, so the geographic area he's located in, and wealth management. And then he has financial services designed for physicians and retirees as well. So you want them, again, to be different for every page, but make sure you're adding them to every page of your website. So you don't want big, huge blocks of text, right? So if we go back to, let's just do this site. If we go to the wealth management page of this site, right? So here, your portfolio management and financial planning solutions. We can see when we hover over it and select it, that that's a header 3. If I wanted to boost it up and make it a little bit bigger, I can make it a header 2. The larger the header, so a 1 is going to signify the most importance to Google. A 2, the next level. A 3, a little bit less than that. Now, you don't want to go in here and start changing everything up because it's going to visually change the way that it looks. So I would leave it however it was designed for you. But what you might want to consider doing is changing what keywords are there, right? So if you offer portfolio management and financial planning solutions for ExxonMobil employees, maybe you have like a very specific company that you work with, you can just go in and type that right in there and then make sure that you're clicking Save Changes, but now that keyword is included in that text, right? So whenever somebody is doing a search, if they're an ExxonMobil employee, they're going to have a much better chance of coming across your website because you're including those keywords in that area. This is also going to be hugely important when you're blogging. So if we come back to that blog and we click Manage Posts, within any section, so I have 10 steps to starting a small business, and I've added Sarasota, Florida in the page title of the blog, right? I could come in here and say something like, step 1, explore a passion. Sarasota is full of interesting, I don't know, hobbies or whatever you want to do. So you can put in the keywords in that headline or in those header tags in order to get those keywords included in your website. You can also add a new piece of content with a new header simply by, you start typing, and then you want to come back up here and just select it, and then again choose whatever header that you're going to use, and now that will be a new header in that area. So these are really important places to put your keywords. So again, as you're creating blog posts, as you're editing your current website copy or adding new pages, you want to make sure that we're really paying attention to those headers. Okay, so the last piece of the on the page factors that we want to pay attention to and that you can easily edit in the platform would be links. This is something I see all the time. Somebody will have a page or a blog post and it's like a really valuable piece of information on their website, and they don't have any links to it on their website, internal or external. So maybe they have a page on their site that's all about how they work with women going through divorce, and they provide a quadro, and they have also really rich keyword information, but they don't link to that page from any other page on their site, and no other pages on their site link back to that. So linking, as I've mentioned before, is a really, really important way to signify that this is important. If there's a standalone piece of content somewhere out there on the internet and there's no links going to it and no links going out from it, Google says that can't be important. Like nobody else is linking to it. It's just not important information. So if you want to signal that something is important, you need to create backlinks. And this is really easy to do in your 20/10 editor. So within any section, let's say you had a really important article about baking cupcakes. You can highlight that text and then just right here, click Insert Link. And then you would add the URL of the other page of your website, right? So if my website is 20over10.com and I want to link to my pricing page, I would just copy that link and then right in here in the URL, paste it. And then I can decide I want it to open in a new window and say yes. And now I've created a link. So whenever somebody comes to this page, if they want to learn more about how I bake cupcakes, they can go click that link and be taken to that page. The rule of thumb is you should not have any page of your website that does not have a link going out and a link coming in. So for instance, every time you add a new blog post, you should go back to your blog archives and find 1 or 2 old posts that you have that would be comparable and link to it. So for instance, if you're writing a new blog post about, first-time home buyers and you have 2 older posts, one was about the housing market and one was about big purchases, you can link to those posts within your text, right? And then you can also go back to older posts and add that new link. The internal linking is something that nobody in financial services does. So if you do this, you are going to be so far ahead of the game and you're going to see real results from it because nobody does it. A lot of people will play with their meta description. People will play with their headers and what their page titles are, but nobody takes the time to deal with the linking. And as you just saw me doing it in the system, it's so easy to do. So take the extra step, reap the benefits of it. You'll see a lot more you'll get a bigger boost when it comes to SEO if you take this extra step. Now, while I'm in there, let me just show you too, for those of you, logging in and using the system, you can make any link into a button with 20/10 as well. So again, if I wanted to take something and link it, I'd add the link. I would say, whatever the text is that I want. And then open in a new window and I've inserted it. Now, once that link has been built, I can style it as a button. So all I have to do is click this little style icon and then click button. And now it's a button. So somebody comes on my page and I can easily get them to click it much more readily, right? So if you have a page that is all about how someone can get started working with you and you want to drive a lot of traffic to that page, link to it from other pages, but instead of just making it hyperlink text, create a button to make it even easier for someone to click on it. Do we have any questions about using the system to update buttons or links, or what makes for a good meta description or header tag or anything like that before I move on to talking about local search? So that was all very specific to the platform, and I'm happy to answer other questions you have that are platform specific if anybody has them now. But I know we only have 15 minutes left, so I just want to quickly get into local search because I know a lot of you are working with people in your local area and you'll be interested to see this part. Okay, well, let's move on. So as I mentioned very early on, whenever someone is doing a search and results are being given to them, near them, there's going to be a map that comes up and then a list of results. This is always going to be the thing that gets the most attention, right? So we saw that it's getting a huge share of clicks. 66% of clicks are going to be within this local 3-pack. So getting your business in here is really, really important if you can. How to do it really comes down to 3 things. Number 1, you need to create a Google My Business profile page. It's completely free, just like the other Google tools I told you about, right? So I talked about setting up Google Search Console. If you create a Google account through G Suite's tools, so you have your Google Analytics, you'll have Google Search Console, and then you can also set up a Google My Business page. Simply go to Google and search Google My Business, and it'll walk you through the steps. It'll allow you to create a listing on Google for your business. That's the very first thing you need to do. And then when you set up that page, don't leave any piece of information out. So put in your hours of operation, put in any locations you have, add photos. Most businesses don't add photos. So if you add 6 or more photos, you're gonna see a huge boost for local search there too. You might be thinking, what kind of photos can I add? You can add your logo as a photo. You can add pictures of the inside of your office, the outside of your office, your individual team members, your team volunteering one day, whatever it is that you want to add. Just come up with at least 6 photos. For some reason, 6 is the magic number. You also want to include what's called your NAP data on every page. So NAP data is your name, your address, and your phone number. Google is constantly scanning NAP data for info on businesses to have real-time information about locations and where people are at. And they appreciate it when people make sure this information is up to date. So make sure you change your Google My Business listing information if that does change. But also think of it this way. Everywhere on the internet that you're listing out your company should be exactly the same when it comes to this information. So if you spell out suite, S-U-I-T-E, on your website, but when you set up your Google My Business page, you put it as S-T-E period, Google's going to have a hard time reconciling that those are 2 of the same business. So be consistent. If you use one phone number on your website, use the same phone number in every other listing. The name of your business, the address, and the phone number should be exact across every business directory, every yellow page listing, your website, your social media profiles. This is crucial to rank well locally. Crucial. I mentioned when you set up Google My Business, so here's just 2, options, right? So in this one, we can see somebody set up a Google My Business page and they added a phone number and an address, and that's it. On this one, they have their hours of operation, they have photos of their business, they are having a much more complete listing. They have a long, unique description of what their business does, a cover photo. So you want to do all of these things in order to have a robust business listing in order to be shown more in this local 3-pack. So those are all of the tips that I had for you today. I know that was a lot of information to digest, and we're coming up at the top of the hour here. If you want help doing things like making sure that your keywords are put in all the right places, setting up Google Search Console, setting up Google Analytics, taking care of editing meta descriptions, all the things I just went through, we have an SEO package that does all of those things for you. It's $800 one-time fee. And our team at 20 over 10 will take care of this for you. Now, you need to be on the 20 over 10 website platform in order to use this package, but it is highly beneficial. Even though you can do all of these things yourself, obviously, number one, we do them on your behalf. And number two, we can give you a lot of insight into what's going to be the best meta description and keywords to use within those different areas. So if you're interested, certainly get in touch with us about that. I've added an email here, just marketing@20over10.com, that you'd want to reach out to if you want to use that package. Additionally, we have a couple other packages. So if you are on our platform but you want help updating just the copy on every page of your website, we have 2 different copy packages. If you want help just looking at your Google Analytics and determining, where is my traffic coming from? How are people finding my site? Where are they getting lost? Or what pages do I need to rework? That analytics analysis is a really great 1-hour meeting, and then we give you a report with all of our findings and make strategic recommendations for you. We even do things like logo design. So I know for a lot of you, there may be different services that you need. You can find all of this on our website under the pricing page, add-ons. But these certainly are options that are there for you. And if you're already on the platform, it makes it even easier to add these on. And then I know I talked about this a little bit in the backend editor, but we do have a full library of content. So one of the big ways, as I mentioned before, of getting a higher ranking website, once you've taken care of the elements I went through today, is that second half, right? That building links back to your website. So that is why blogging is so huge. It's giving updates to your website, but every piece of content that you create, every blog you create becomes its own page on your website that you can share on social media that creates a new backlink back to your site. So it's highly important, yet a lot of advisors just don't have time to do it, or they aren't sure if they're doing it well or right. So we have this library, content library of articles that you can select from. 15 new ones are added every month, and then some are removed that have been used a lot. But unlike most content libraries where it's just the same content for everybody, our Content Assist libraries, or our Content Assist library, is completely editable by you. So you can go in and, just as I showed you, you can add in the keywords that you want to any post. You can change the meta description. So if there's a post, about 6 steps to starting a small business, and you work with a lot of business owners on 401ks and the questions that they have, you can put in all the keywords that are particular to your audience, your location, your niche into that article, and you're going to really improve your SEO, right? This is $4.99 a year, this product that you can add on to your website at any time. So when you're in the back end, if you go to that blogging section that I showed you, so on this one, it's already activated. But if you don't have it activated, you would just click Content Assist for blogging. And when you click that, there'll be a place to go in and activate it. And I actually have a code for everybody today. So if you use the code BLOGMORE19, you'd get $50 off. So instead of it being $4.99 for the year, it would be $4.49 for the year. And so again, that's a one-time price, and that gives you all the articles for the entire year to use. So it's really, really a different product. We've been really excited by the feedback we've gotten on it. And, all of the topics are completely specific to advisors. I know I've talked with a lot of people from Manulife about it before, and they're excited for you all to use it. So one other thing just to note in here, there's also an area for feedback. So we constantly are getting ideas for new articles from our users. So if we had actually somebody just recently who was like, I would love to see an article about what people should consider if they are kind of a DIYer when it comes to financial advice versus what an advisor can provide with value. What are the top 10 considerations, right? And so we turn that into an actual article that will be released in our next round. So just things like that to think about. I'm going to leave you with just some contact information. So again, this is just some different information. This is my personal LinkedIn, and I love connecting with the advisors that are on our platform. I share updates on new rollouts that we have, new technology updates, webinars that we have that are coming up. So you can connect with me. It's just Samantha C. Russell is my username, and I would love to, if you have a website you want me to look at and tell you, give you any feedback, I'm happy to do that. So please connect with me there. And then if you have any just questions about any of the services or anything like that, it would be marketing@20over10.com you'd want to contact. Certainly if it's a technical support question, you would still contact support, but that would be the best place to go if you want to talk about our SEO package, Content Assist, or any of the other packages that we've talked about. Ellen, you were asking, is the Content Assist Canadian, I think is what you're getting at. And yes, you can use all of those articles as well. They still have to go through compliance. I should mention that. So if you are in here and you add any of these articles, you edit any of them, it would be the exact same way any of your other website content is, handled. So you would still click the publish step. And then when you go through the publish step, it would be submitted to compliance. They would review the article, the blog post, make sure that it's good, and then they would approve it for you. So any other questions? If somebody's asking where they can find a copy of the presentation, we will email it to you. So hopefully tomorrow, if not tomorrow, definitely Monday, I will give all of you both the slides as well as the presentation itself. And let's see what else. The name 20 over 10, that is an interesting story. So 20 over 10, we were really created with the idea that so many advisors needed a place where they could have a really unique vision and perception of what that vision was. There was not a lot of options when it came to marketing that was compliant. That allowed you to be creative. And so we kept coming to the idea of website versus vision, perception, eyesight. And so it's a play on website versus eyesight. So people think that with your eyesight, 20/20 is perfect vision, but actually with the use of assistive technologies like LASIK, you can get 20/10 vision. So it's the idea of having a perfect vision for your business and a imperfect site. Any other questions that I miss? Just going through here. If you haven't already too, another thing I would highly suggest you do is go to 20 over 10, and if you click on blog, you'll be taken here to our blog, and you can subscribe and you will get all of our updates, upcoming presentations. So for instance, we just had one here about blogging, how to get started blogging in 60 minutes. You can click on webinars and see all of our most recent webinars. You can go through the showcase tab, so look at different websites and get inspiration for things you might want to do on yours. If you really love the topic of SEO, right, you can just search SEO and get tons of articles that give you information about SEO with your own website. So I love that so many of you are logging in and making updates to your site. And truly, we, as I said before, love working with the advisors who are using the platform. So whether you have feedback that you want to give, if you have an idea for a webinar or a training session you'd like to see us run, we really want to work in conjunction with you. So please, please, please let us know. I know we're just about out of time. I'll stay on for a few minutes if anyone has any other questions. But thank you all so much for joining us today. I hope you found this helpful. If you wouldn't mind in the chat or in the Q&A, just letting me know maybe what particularly was the most helpful part, that's always great for me to see. So I know what content or what areas people find most helpful during these presentations, or something you'd like me to expand upon in a future presentation. So if you can think of something in particular that I shared today that was helpful, please let me know in the chat box. Thank you all so much.